request to explain this kind of noodly, what I would call a shreddy type of blues guitar playing. It's not something I do a lot of anymore. But it's a good thing to know, and it's one of the first things you might learn as a intermediate, just past the beginning guitar player stage. So I'm going to try to break it down for you and give you a few ideas about how to make it sound like you're playing fast without doing so much work. So first off, let's just talk about the notes. I'm playing in B here. The B is on the 7th fret of the 6th and 1st strings, and on the 9th fret of string 4. Okay, and you probably already know the pentatonic scale in this position. It has the 10th fret on the 6th string, and then all the notes, by the way, on the 7th fret, and then on the 5th string, 7 and 9, 4th string, 7 and 9, 7 and 9 on the 3rd string, 7 and 10 on the 2 high strings. Okay, now to that we're going to add some more notes, which will make this a Dorian mode. It's a type of minor scale, and we're going to avoid too much theory, so I'm just going to show you the notes. On the top string, we're going to have fingers 4, 3, and 1, so we're adding the 3rd finger in there. And then we're going to do the same thing on the next string. So now we got 2 strings with the same shape. And to make it fast and easy to play, we're going to not use the pinky. And we're also not going to pick all the notes. If you have some distortion going, you really only need to pick maybe 1 note every time you change strings. And I got the other camera here so you can see, hopefully, that I'm only picking down and then pulling off the other notes with the left hand. Okay, now on the 3rd string, the Dorian scale would include the notes we already had, 9 and 7, but then we can also slide back to the 6th fret. And then we're going to limit the discussion to those top 4 strings for now. Now to make it easier, and also to sound kind of bluesy, we're going to add the F natural on the 10th fret of string 3. So now we have the same shape on all 3 top strings. And we can include the 9th in there, but then we have 4 notes on that string, so you might not do that as often. If you want it to be fast and easy, it's sort of the same shape on each string so that you don't have to change the way you're picking the guitar. You can just do this. And I'm pretty much just picking each string 1 time when I change. Another thing I'm doing, and I got the other camera up here, so when I go from a low string to the higher one, I'm just using consecutive downstrokes. You can watch my pick sort of slip off the 3rd string and just land up against the 2nd string, like that. Yeah. So that's called economy picking, and it's not really good for playing in time or holding down a groove. And I usually practice alternate picking as much as possible, but for this, it makes it faster. And when we're doing this kind of phrasing, we're not so much concerned with grooving. We're sort of floating over the top of like a 1-chord vamp. You might do this kind of thing after you've set up a solo with some more restrained phrasing, and then throw something like this in to bring up the excitement level a little bit. So again, economy picking on downstrokes most of the time. So I'm going from the 3rd string at the 10th fret here to the 7th string on the 2nd string, sorry, 7th fret. And we can do the same thing. And then there are like a series of small licks that use economy picking like that, combined with maybe one pull off that allow you to create a trill that you can repeat like this. And finish it off with a little bit of scale. So here I'm going from the 10th fret on the 3rd string to also the 10th fret on the 2nd string, and then I'm pulling off to the 7th fret. That's the whole thing. And while you're executing this pull off, your pick has time to return to the 3rd string so you can do it again. So the right hand is doing downstrokes only. And the left hand is doing the same sequence of notes over and over again. And you can finger that a couple of different ways. The first way I played was with the 2nd finger reaching up to the 10th fret, and then the 10th fret on the 2nd string with the 3rd finger, and then repeating that over and over. Or you could just do it with one finger and roll across and pull off. That's a lot of work for the 3rd finger, but it does get the job done. You notice I'm getting a little bit of slop open G string in there. You can prevent that by judiciously keeping your 1st finger over both strings somewhat. But you don't want to have this chord playing. Make sure the notes are separated. So when you finish this note, roll your finger completely off so that it is now damping the 3rd string. Now we can combine these trills with the other notes, like say some of the notes on the 9th fret, or this is common to use the pentatonic scale, E natural on the 9th fret of the 3rd string, and then pulling off from A to F sharp on the 2nd string, 10 to 7. And then you can make longer licks like this that repeat by including another string. One of the most common ones is to start here on the B at the 7th fret of string 4, and then pull off on the next string, and then use a bend from E to F sharp on the 9th fret of string 3. From here, so we got this much so far, right? Most stock common rock lick ever, all over the early hard rock albums of the 70s. Now from this bend, we're going to release, mute that string, and at the same time play F sharp on the 2nd string at the 7th fret, and then roll that over to B on the 1st string. So you have, when you combine and repeat, and again we have the economy picking in the right hand from the bent note, then an economy movement to the 2nd string. But I want to start heading back in the other direction, so actually this is an upstroke, except for maybe the first time I play it. No, it's pretty much always. If it's on this string, you'll find it's probably easier to use an upstroke on the outside strings, on the top string. So I'm going down, down, up, down, pull off, and then start over. Down, down, up, down, pull off. Down, down, up, down, pull off. Yeah. Now another thing you want to do is mix up a few long notes in here to get a little bit of variety and expression going on, and I've been doing this the whole time. All the notes on the guitar side of your hand, in other words the pinky notes or the ring finger notes in this pattern, you can bend up a whole step. So in other words, if I'm playing A on the second string, I can bend that up so it matches B on the first string. Same thing with E on the third string. Bend that up to F sharp so it matches the second string F sharp. Okay? For the notes that have a note a half step above, we can use a half step bend. So for the G sharp on this ninth fret of string 2, we're going to bend up only a half step. Don't overbend that. It'll sound like you're out of tune. Same thing on the first string. You can bend C sharp up to D natural. Then release the bend. Let's do a little more. The next couple of notes of this scale, especially pentatonic, we're going to arrive at by sliding with the second finger on E up to F sharp at the 11th fret. And that's going to move us up into the next fretboard position for B. And that means we have A and B on the 10th and 12th fret of string 2, and then D and E on the first string, 10th and 12th frets. And then we can get one more note here without moving by bending up to F sharp on the equivalent to the 14th fret of string 1 by bending at the 12th fret. So you want to get used to preparing to slide by getting that second finger in there, because you don't want to get stuck trying to hammer on and really play fast with the pinky on the next position. For this kind of playing, and I'm not saying don't use your pinky, I use it all the time, but for this, you're trying to get something specific to happen. So we got a slide with the second finger, first finger on the 10th fret, and then the third finger on the 12th fret, and then the same thing on the first string. Okay. Now we had these other notes in the scale, and you can work those out too. Primarily, you want to make sure that you know where that F natural is, the flat 5 in B minor. That's on the 13th fret of string 1. And we can also bend up to that as we did in the other position. But that's also a very good spot for those repeated figures. One of the most popular ones is okay, so we're going to break that down for a second. pull off from F to D, and I'm starting with an upstroke, mostly because I'm on the first string already. Excuse my lisp. Now I'm going to play, after that pull off, I'm going to play E natural with the second finger on the 12th fret of string 1. Yeah, and that's going to be a downstroke. It might be a little different the first time you do it, but once your right hand gets into a rhythm, you'll probably be playing up, down. And this one, actually I don't pull off the second one. I play another upstroke on E. And that is more or less just to get my pick up into position to play on the second string. And that's a B on the 12th fret of string 2. And then I'm going to economy pick, in other words, rake, back to the first string of the 10th fret, a D natural. So the whole thing, I got upstroke, pull off, down, up, down on the second string, and then another down. You'll make sure you don't rush those consecutive downstrokes. So do this kind of slow at first. Now, each player that I notice playing this lick makes it sound a little bit different. You might notice that, for instance, Jimmy Page doesn't pick that last note on the first string the way I did. He might do it a little sloppier than that, and still be cooler. Yeah, I don't know how that works, but there it is. Now the same lick that we played here in the 10th position can be played exactly the same in 7th position. I'm going to run out of time, so let me wrap this up by giving you a little variety. Once in a while, you're going to play the same shape that I played here at the 7th fret, almost the same, and move it down to the 4th fret. And that'll give you a little sweeter major kind of sound. Because if you're in B, your major third, what happened? Are we still there? Sorry, I had my screen blacked out for a second. The major third of the B chord is on the 4th fret of string 2. But the fingering is almost the same. So if I'm on, start on the 4th string, we got fingers 1 and 3. And then on the next string, fingers 1 and 3 and 4. And then on the next strings, second string, we have fingers 1 and 4 also. And same thing on the first string, fingers 1 and 4. So it's pretty much the same as this shape up here, except we're leaving out those 2 notes that we used with the 3rd finger, because when they're played down here, they're going to give us some sort of inappropriate for rock, classic rock of the 70s anyway. There may be times when, but you definitely want to watch out for that one. You don't want to do that, because then you'll have a B major 7 chord, and that's not really compatible with this vibe. So, like I said, I didn't want to get very theoretical about it. You can kind of just throw this in over any part of a B blues progression. whether it's major or minor. A lot of times in the sludgiest of rock genres, there won't really be a clear definition of whether the chords are major or minor. And definitely if the chord is just staying on a B5 like this, or if there's a breakdown where you're just playing by yourself,